After years of enjoying beeps, boops, wubs, and wub 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 wubs, you finally decided to get a copy of Ableton to start making your own jams. Fantastic. This video is designed to take you from your very first time opening Ableton to printing out your very first song, no previous producing experience required. I'm Dirtmill, let's do this. Okay, so here's the main window of Ableton. This is where we have all the features, fixins, and trappings required to make beats, drops, and tasty jams. This section right here is called the timeline view. As you can see, there's actually timestamps at the bottom, and this is the main view we're going to be building our music in and dragging in clips and whatnot. There is an additional view called session view, which looks like this. We won't get into that in this lesson, but should you want to play around with it, you can hit the tab key to switch between the two. Each of the tracks you see here represents a different way to interact with audio, and that's how we'll be putting this song together. This very first lane, you'll see an audio track, and that's where you can drop in sound files to be played, such as babies crying, stuffing your hand into a jar of mayo, or a porn star reading you the tax code very slowly. The next type of track here is a MIDI track. Now this stores a type of musical information called MIDI. We'll explore that a little bit later, but for now, just understand it behaves a little bit differently than the audio track. Down here we have the return tracks. If you have multiple tracks that you all want to run to the same reverb, the same compressor, the same distortion, you can actually send audio from these tracks to the return tracks, and it'll apply the same effect. We won't get into that in this lesson, but that's cool to know. And the last type of track here is the master track. The master track is where all of the audio gets sent before it's sent to your headphones or speakers. So this is the final step of everything. Everything goes from all these tracks to any return tracks if needed, and then out to the master. On the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see the browser window. This is where we store all our instruments, audio effects, MIDI effects, plugins, samples, and any sort of tools we need in our toolkit to make tasty jams. You'll be spending a fair amount of time in here. If you're ever unsure of what anything in Ableton does, there's a handy little help window. You can go down to here. You'll actually be able to notice it changes as I mouse around here. So it's a good way to figure out what each button does, because Ableton thankfully tells you. How nice of them. For today's song, we're going to start off with writing the drum part. So on the left-hand side of the screen, we're going to click drums, and I'm going to use the big punchy kit. There he is. Cool. Sounds great. Now, if you want to turn off this automatic preview, you can click this little blue headphones right there and turn it off. But I generally like it on as a way to audition sounds as I'm going through this. We found a drum kit. Let's click and drag it onto the MIDI track. Boom. We now have this track, this MIDI track now is our drums, and we can test things out with hitting these little play buttons if we want. Neat. Let's program in a beat. I'm going to click and drag on that MIDI track and hit Control-Shift-M to create a MIDI clip. You notice the bottom of the screen now turned into piano. Each one of the notes corresponds to each of the instruments we have in the kit. We can click and play them just like that. So let's write in a simple beat. Snares on 2s and 4s. And let's add in a simple hi-hat. Cool. Now, you see all this empty space. I'm not going to click every single one of those because that's a pain in the patoot. So let's do this the quick way, huh? Click fold. Actually, if you click fold, that will compress the piano key down to just the notes you've hit. And if you want to see everything, you can unhit fold, but when you hit fold, simplifies it. So here's just the kick, snare, and hat. All right, now that we've done that, click and drag and hit click and drag to select everything and hit Control-D. Boom, duplicate. Here's what our song is, our amazing song sounds like right now. Oh my God, that is a winner. Let's keep going. Yeah, shall we? Let's do it. Now that we've got a chart topper of a drum part, let's start adding some body and getting this jam into overdrive. Click this filter off. Let's go to Instruments, and we'll use Operator, which is a built-in synthesizer that comes with Ableton. Neat. This is the default section for it. So let's pick out some instruments first. I'm going to go to Piano and Keys, And how about Piano 1 Classic? Boom. All right, that's nice and cheesy. Let's click and drag that to the track. You'll notice the synthesizer changed all its settings for that. Neat. All right, let's get the chords going. Click and drag, Control-Shift-M to create it. Now, click and drag, Control-Shift-M. Now you'll see there is a keyboard here, but instead of the drum hits like we saw up here, there are actually notes. So let's just start clicking and drawing in notes. Let's do a C. Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. Let's add in, how about a G there? Whoa! Whoa! That's some tasty jams. Okay, Control D to duplicate that, but let's make that second chord a little bit more interesting. How about, let's throw in an F, and the cool part about this is you don't necessarily need to know any music theory or anything. I'm just picking notes. So let's do this again. I'm gonna hit spacebar, and that'll start playing the playback. Hear the Grammys rolling in already, and whoa, cool. So we've got the chords. Awesome. We are on the way to possibly the best song of the millennium. Let's keep going, shall we? Now, no song would be complete without a big fat booty bass. So let's go in and add one of those there. Let's create a new MIDI track because we need one to throw that bass in there. I'm going to keep using operator. Let's find a booty bass. How about bass? Ooh, oh my goodness. I hope that's coming through. Let's click and drag that to the track, and now we've got the bass loaded up on this track. One of the cool tricks with MIDI is, again, MIDI only stores how to play, but not what to play. It basically takes, we play these chords, and it sends it to the synthesizer and then to the out. But we can copy and hold Control and click and drag to copy those same performing instructions and drop it on another instrument. Notice now it's on this bass track. Let's delete these high notes right here and see how this sounds with the bass. That sounds okay, but I feel like we should drop the bass. So let's do that. I'm going to hit Control A to select all notes within this MIDI thing, and hit Shift down arrow. Let's Shift down arrow just one. So notice it dropped it an octave. Let's hear from the top. I'm going to hit spacebar again. That's good. That's good. Let's drop it one more. Control A, Shift down. Let's drop it. Ooh. Oh my God. The sub's vibrating. I'm feeling real good. Feeling really good. So we've got the basics of a song. Now let's start using some audio track, right? Because what track is complete without a tasty audio clip? Over here on the left-hand side, we're going to navigate to Places. This is where you can add in your own sample folders on the computer, and let's see what I've got. Okay, cool. So I have a file called Sexy Vocal Sample 40321. You guys may have heard it before. If not, here's how it goes. I got grandma with that funky hair. God damn, that is fire. Y'all, that is fire. Cool. So let's click and drag that onto an audio track now. Notice how this looks different than the MIDI. You can see the actual waveforms right there, and that's the quickest way to tell the difference between the two. Let's hear everything all put together. I got grandma with that funky hair. Ow. I got grandma with that funky hair. Ow. Wow. I hope you're feeling the fire as much as I am with this song, because this is absolutely decadent. All right, so we have a little short 8-bar loop, but I feel like it's missing something. I want to add a little bit more movement because these are just long held out notes, and that's kind of boring to me. Let's create a new MIDI track. Again, let's use operator and let's look for, all right, sure, guitar unplugged. Why not? Ew, it's a terrible sounding 12-string guitar. Let's use it. Okay, cool. Now, again, I clicked and dragged it to this new MIDI track. I'm going to copy and paste these chords from the piano, but let's add 2 changes. One, I want to add in an arpeggiator. So I clicked on MIDI effects, go to arpeggiator. This is a MIDI effect that can go onto MIDI tracks that makes you play an arpeggio. So instead of sounding like this, let's hit solo. That's really boring. Let's turn on the arpeggiator. That's slightly less boring. Let's add in a step. The song is so trash. But it's a little bit better with the addition of that arpeggiator. Let's turn the rate up to 16ths. And turn up the gate. All right, cool. So we've added an arpeggiator, and let's add in a little bit more chords here. So let's see what happens when I do this. I got grandma with that funky hair. So this is in no way a good song, but we have put together a few 8 bars. So let's arrange this really quick and then do a little bit of EQ and drop this song out there. So I'm going to click and drag to select these. And okay, I'm going to click and hold plus. So let's have just the piano start the basics. And oops, piano start with the basics. And we'll do it like this. So structure-wise, we have just the drums and the piano. Then in comes everything all at once for a big wow. And at the end of that, we'll just fade out with the drums and that hideous sounding 12-string. So it's going to sound like this. When it gets really boring, I'm going to skip ahead right before the drop. I got grandma with that funky hair. Cool. And then as it ends in the outro, I got grandma. Wow, that's fire. Okay, let's throw a few little EQs on things to make things simple. Again, there's not always hard and fast rules, but one quick way to get the mix sounding a little bit better is dropping an EQ8. This is Ableton's built-in equalizer, and dropping it on the non-bass tracks. And we're going to click this little icon and roll off some of those lows. So there's more room for the bass and drums. As with sound and anything, there's only so much room for anything in each frequency. So the whole purpose behind mixing, if you've heard that term before and are not familiar with it, is just making stuff sound good together. And this is a way to do it. There's not a perfect way. There's always ifs, ands, buts. But this is a quick way to have your tracks start making room for the low ends. So I put this little, it's called a high pass filter right there, since it lets the high part of the frequency pass. In fact, let me just hit play and show you what happens with the sound wave. I got grandma with that funky hair. So we rolled off a little bit of the lows. Let's also click, hold Control and copy paste that onto the 12-string, that terrible 12-string guitar, and let's see how that happens. I got grandma with that funky hair. That's a little bit better. Okay, let's roll off a little bit of highs on that one too. I got grandma with that funky hair. I like that better. Now for that big booty bass, let's do the opposite. Let's roll off those highs because that's not the important part of the sound. When I hit play, you can see the sound wave here and how much energy it's adding. Let's just simplify it. I got grandma. All right. I got grandma. It's not a masterful mix, but it's important to understand EQ8 on everything. Okay. Let's bounce this song out. You've got your basic song. Just going to click and drag the whole length of the song that we want to export. I usually like adding a little bit of silence at the end, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to go to File, Export Audio Video. Don't worry about changing any of these settings. You don't need to care about it at this point in the game. All you need to do is hit Export and where you want to drop it. I'll drop it in my Dropbox. Dropbox. Hit Export and it renders the audio out, and that's it. By the time this finishes, you'll have a fully complete WAV file of your very first song. While your grandma's hair might not be the funkiest of hairs, we have been able to create a song from start to finish in a few minutes, and you've seen a lot of the major features of Ableton. If this video was helpful, feel free to drop a subscribe and drop something in the comments. And if you have any questions for me or other features, things you'd want to know how to do, just let me know. Thanks for watching. I'm Dirt Mill.